I sometimes wonder where life would have taken me if certain things had happened differently. I'm sure many people would say that their time at CMBC or CMU, MBBC, Concord, any of those places, was instrumental or maybe even pivotal in shaping who they are. And I'm one of those. Studying at CMBC provided just the right mixture of support and challenge that I needed as a young adult. But in addition to those vague influences, I can identify a particular moment in my third year as a student here in one of those basement apartments across the street that is directly responsible for starting me on the path to a career in agriculture. My plan at that time was to become a science teacher to junior high students, no less. What was I thinking? I was starting to choose courses for my first year at the University of Manitoba, reading the course catalog, groaning inwardly at just how dull some of the courses seemed, when a fellow student came by and told me about a brand new program at the U of M, a Bachelor of Science in agroecology. I looked into it and I was converted. I could practically feel the scales fall off my eyes. I transferred into the Faculty of Agriculture the next year after graduating from CMBC, and the rest, as they say, is history. I think I am likely one of very few Aggies whose transcripts include the course Religion and Modern Thought. To my fellow agriculture students, and maybe others, my leap from theology to agriculture must have seemed like a massive one. But to me, agriculture was such a clear way to embody my faith in a practical way. The opportunities for overseas service work were so obvious. Even as a student, while my classmates were doing projects on canola or zero-till, I was studying agroforestry systems in sub-Saharan Africa. I couldn't wait to go on MCC. That opportunity came soon enough. In 2000, after graduating from the U of M and then working for a year in almost exactly the same job I have right now, my husband Myron and I accepted a 3-year MCC assignment in northeastern Brazil. My task there would be to accompany a newly formed association of organic farmers, or more like market gardeners in our language, providing them with technical support and helping them develop markets for their products. It is easy to feel like you are going to make a big difference in the world when you are about to start something new, especially something that takes you far away to a place with such obvious problems like poverty and drought and health issues from using pesticides incorrectly, and apparently no one there to help, or else why will they need an MCCer? Helping these Brazilian farmers earn a living using sustainable farming practices seemed so much more worthwhile than anything I had worked on at the university so far. As it turned out, these farmers actually had a pretty good handle on their production practices and had quite a good support system in their community. The MCC assignment was still enjoyable and fulfilling work and worthwhile and challenging in so many ways. But like many who do this sort of thing, I became well aware that I was gaining more from the experience than those I was there to help. This may be, in fact, the greatest value of the whole experience, along with a bit of an appreciation for the realities of another place in the world. But along the way, I also realized that living in another culture, operating in another language, being far from family and all that was familiar to me, was not something that I really wanted to do long term. So where did that leave my vocation, my calling in agriculture? After returning to Winnipeg at the end of our term, with a little one in tow, I went back to work at the university, part-time, in the same research program I had worked in before and still work in today, working with Martin Entz in the area of ecological agriculture. Going back to the same old job may seem like a highly unimaginative path to take, but looking back, I think that being part of that particular research group has fostered my imagination around agriculture in ways that few other jobs could. There, I was challenged, and still am, not only to try to answer research questions, but to consider what questions we should be asking in the first place, and how and where we should look for answers to them, and who will be impacted by our work, and how we can best share what we have learned. Themes that resonate closely, although only indirectly, with my CMBC education. And as a side note, I'm happy to know that CMU students can now explore agriculture and food and land issues in much more direct ways. My university work has involved plenty of time spent in research plots and analyzing data and that sort of thing, but it has also taken me to farms all over Manitoba and the prairies and occasionally further afield, even to Malawi. There I have met so many farmers, just like those I worked with in Brazil in so many ways. They're dealing with changes in weather and climate that make farming more unpredictable, struggling to get fair prices for their products, sometimes feeling stuck between wanting to use more environmentally friendly farming practices and needing to keep costs down, seeing their communities and their landscapes evolve as land ownership and farming practices change, and often feeling like there's no one there to help. And just like on MCC, these farmers and I talk about things like weeds and soil and bugs and manure, and sometimes about their hopes and dreams for their farms and their families, and about their visions for a better world. And just like on MCC, I sometimes head home with the gift of some farm produce, although I must say that a spaghetti squash is never quite as exciting as a bag of mangoes. Much like I did while on MCC, I attend meetings and conferences to share technical knowledge and discuss big ideas or to assist in training other individuals. And I talk and write about ecological agriculture and the potential that it has to change how we grow food and interact with the land. Just today, I spent my day in a room with 50 other people who are working together to develop a research proposal to try to understand resilient agriculture systems on the prairies. We heard soil scientists and biologists and economists and extension workers and policymakers and farmers, all sharing their visions for the future and together imagining how we can grow plentiful and nutritious food in ways that are profitable for farmers and ecologically sound. Tomorrow, we get together to try to figure out how to design a research project to address some of those questions. So, is this all service, leadership, and reconciliation, as the CMU mission statement describes? I suppose you could say that it is, although I wouldn't have used those words until thinking about this award. It's humbling to think that these lofty-sounding outcomes may have emerged from my normal day-to-day activities without me really thinking about them in that way. If I have achieved anything, the credit needs to be shared with those who have helped shape who I am. My parents and family, my husband and kids, my church family, friends, MCC contacts, teachers, professors, my work colleagues, and connections. All of you have both supported and challenged me, sometimes pushing me to do things I wouldn't have otherwise tried or think about things from a different perspective. Thank you for whatever ways you have walked with me on my journey so far. So, what if that pivotal moment in my third year had never happened? Who knows what all had to fall into place? What if that friend hadn't come by that particular day? What if he had never heard about this program in the first place? Or what if we had never even become friends because I, sat somewhere else in chapel or tried out for the other choir? Who knows what might have happened? Perhaps I would have ended up teaching science, although I doubt I would have lasted long in that profession. Perhaps I would have found my way into agriculture some other way. Or perhaps I would have ended up doing something completely different. As I dabble in different activities through hobbies or church involvements, I sometimes wonder if I could have found a career in one of them. As it is, I'm so grateful that I found my way into a field that has allowed me to weave together so many of the things that I love. Reading, writing, being outdoors, collecting bits of information, asking questions, working with my hands, and helping people understand new ideas, which is a form of teaching, I suppose. Realizing that others may be finding some benefit or inspiration in my work is a tremendous feeling. It is truly an honor to accept this award from the CMU community. Thank you for the role that you have played in my life and in the lives of so many other students and alumni. May God richly bless you as you begin another year.